Hey everyone, Samantha Hildebrand here with the Type 1 Tribe podcast. Welcome back to my channel. I am so happy you are here. Today, I want to talk about 3 ways that you can lower your A1c and stay in range more often without changing your diet. So let's go. Okay, so I know obviously a hot topic amongst us type 1 diabetics is how can we lower our A1c, stay in range more often, but not ruin our lives by giving up the foods that we like to eat, right? Like that's like a dream scenario. Like how can we be in the low 5 range when it comes to A1c, but still be eating our favorite foods? And I totally agree with all of this, by the way. We should still eat all the food that we want to eat in moderation because we're living our lives. Like we have to live. You don't want to bring on other issues like mental health issues when you aren't living your life the way you want to live it, if that makes sense. I know a lot of people that give up a lot of food to lower their A1c. And I mean, there's stories out there everywhere. They will say, I was miserable. Even though I had a low A1c, like, which was great, I was absolutely miserable because I gave up all the foods that I absolutely loved. And that, of course, is not the goal. We want to find a way where we can get in the 5s for an A1c, but then still be eating the food that we enjoy to eat all the time, right? So today I want to talk about 3 ways that you can lower your A1c, stay in range more often, and still eat the food you love. So the first one, which I talk about all the time, is exercise. Exercise, exercise, exercise. I will hone in on this all the time because I am a huge proponent for exercise. Exercise not only will help manage your blood sugar, it will do so many other things for your health that it's like, if you're not exercising every day, that's just like we gotta start there because that will change your life. Trust me, it will literally change your life. So exercise is definitely the first thing that you need to do if you want to lower your A1c and stay in range more often. So cardio is really, really important for managing blood sugar. And so is weightlifting. But first I want to dive into cardio. Cardio really helps get the insulin moving, which is what we want, right? When we're taking insulin and maybe we're having some insulin resistance, if we start to move, and that can be any type of movement, by the way, like it can be walking, it can be running, it can be dancing, really anything, that is what helps insulin move within the body and do the things that it needs to do. And so that is what you should start doing if you're noticing insulin resistance. I'm a huge, huge walker. I love to walk. I love to move. It makes me feel so much better. One, because I'm getting just like some movement in my body just feels better when I move like that. But then 2, it also helps with like my mental health. If I'm like very anxious for whatever reason, if I go for a walk, I will feel immediately better, like within 10 minutes. It just like calms the soul and everything like that. So not only is it good for your blood sugar, like I just mentioned, it's also good for so many other things. My family, my entire family are like huge walkers for that reason. And we just like to get out and move because we see the benefits of it all the time. I personally also love to like run and do things like that, which also will definitely help your blood sugar management. But if you're not a runner, you don't have to run. You can absolutely just walk. Walking is like the secret tool to managing blood sugars. And I've said this before, and I don't know if people like think I'm joking or what, but I'm serious. It really, really is. There have been a lot of studies around walking and blood sugar, and you can look them up. I don't know them off the top of my head, honestly, or like who ran them or anything, but I know that if you walk after you eat, that will help your blood sugar tremendously. So I always try to walk in the afternoon sometime, usually like an hour or 2 after I eat lunch. And I do notice that it helps my blood sugar, especially if I see like a spike going up. I'm like, I'm going to go for a walk. And I go walk for 10, 15 minutes, maybe 30. I will notice that my blood sugar starts to come back down. Plus I'm getting exercise in, like a workout. Plus I'm helping my mental health. It's like, why would you not go for a walk? I know this can be difficult. Obviously, if you are a parent and you're taking care of children, like you can't just leave for a walk sometimes. I understand that. I'm about to experience that, as you can see with my belly here. So I will see how that goes. But I understand there's things that come up that you can't necessarily leave immediately. Like maybe you're at work and you can't just go for a walk. Like I understand that, but there are things you can still do. So it's all about movement, exercise, right? It doesn't have to be a walk. I just think walking is like a simple way to do it. But for example, if you're at work and you notice your blood sugar is going up maybe an hour after you take your lunch or after you eat your lunch, go to the bathroom and start doing jumping jacks. Start like running in place. I do that all the time. People probably, if they were to walk in the bathroom, they would make fun of me, but I will literally be in front of the mirror, in front of the stalls, just like jogging in place. I will do that because I want to get my heart rate up, which will help the insulin kick in. So that is just something that you can do to absolutely lower your A1c, rather than like looking at your CGM and being like, oh crap, like my levels are going up. I'm at 140 right now. It's going straight up, like, and then you just get angry and then you just wait there and do nothing. That's not a good idea. You should absolutely do some type of cardio. If you're at home and you have kids, maybe just start doing a dance party with the kids, right? Dance around, jump around, do whatever it is you got to do to get your heart rate up, because that will absolutely help your blood sugar management. You will see it start to trend. It's like if it's going straight up, for example, you will see it start to like curve out. You may have to take more insulin. It kind of just depends on, I think, what you're eating, how soon this is all happening. Like if your blood sugar is going up so fast, like right after you eat, like that might be because you ate too much sugar, like fast acting sugar, or that could be you just haven't taken enough insulin. You got to figure that out for yourself. I mean, it's obviously dependent on each person and what we're eating and our own type 1 diabetes management, but that's something you should learn over time based on your own body. Because I know now, like if my blood sugar starts to go up like immediately after I eat, I usually just didn't like wait long enough to eat or something. And so like, I know how it works with my body. If it starts to go up 2 hours later, then I'm like, oh no, like the fat is kicking in now. And so the insulin's going up. And so that is when I'll probably give myself a little bit more, like a little correction, and then go for a walk to help it come back down. So exercise, exercise, exercise. I know I like talk about this all the time, but I think it's such a huge part of managing your blood sugar. I mean, it's such a great tool. It's like the #1 tool, in my opinion. If you want to still eat whatever you want to eat, start moving in any way you possibly can. Hiking, walking, running, biking, dancing. I don't know, like whatever it is. Some other tips that I even recommend is like, okay, if you can't like actively by yourself go out for a 30-minute walk because of whatever reason, let's say you go to the grocery store, like park in the furthest parking spot and walk to the grocery store, walk around the grocery store. Like these are other ways that you can get movement in without like exercising, if that makes sense. So I always am a proponent also for like parking far away, walking that way. If you're going to go out to eat, maybe if it's close, like try walking to the restaurant. So that means you can walk home after you eat. So just adding in like little things of exercise will be tremendous for your blood sugar. If you guys know Dr. Bernstein, so I was actually listening to a podcast. It was a really old podcast, but I found it. And so I was listening to it. I want to say it was Peter Attia was interviewing him, but don't quote me on that. But it was really interesting because he was saying that Peter Attia has a friend that walks 6 miles every day that has type 1 diabetes, and his blood sugar management has never been better. And it's because he's walking so much. So I'm just throwing that out there, guys. You need to exercise. It is super, super important for management. The second tip I have for you to help manage your blood sugars, stay in range more often, lower your A1c is to pre-bolus. This is an obvious one, and I know you guys know this probably already, but pre-bolus is huge. It's crazy. Like next time, maybe try this out. Like try a little test. Have the same food both days. pre-bolus for one and don't pre-bolus for the other one, okay? And see what happens. It's crazy. Pre-bolusing is so important, and it's not something I did, like, I didn't try to do it as much before, like maybe like a year or two ago. I would maybe wait like 5 minutes and then I would eat my food, but then I would notice I would have spikes right away, right? Because the food is hitting your blood sugar faster than the insulin is hitting your blood sugar. So it's really important to try to time this up. Now, every insulin is different. So you're going to want to find out which insulin you have and how long it takes to kick in. I'm on Humalog and it takes about 15-20 minutes to kick in. If you're having insulin resistance for whatever reason, because you're pregnant or you're sick or whatever, it might take longer to kick in. And this is something, once again, that you kind of learn over time and you kind of just figure it out by trial and error, which is annoying, I know, but you just do. But I know, like, if I'm feeling good, everything's normal, it will take about 15 minutes for my Humalog to kick in. You can also test this by, for example, giving yourself insulin and just watching the clock and seeing when your CGM numbers start to drop. So if you're sitting at, let's say 110, and you're sitting at 110, 110, 110, and it's been 12 minutes since you've taken your insulin, and now you see the next update says 108, and then 106, and then 104, you know that the insulin is probably kicking in. So now you can eat. You know, okay, well, that started at 12 minutes. I should start eating around 12 to 15 minutes. So that is just one way that you can test how long it's taking your insulin to kick in if you don't really know. The manufacturers of each insulin product should have more information on that though. So you can go research like, okay, Humalog, how long does it take to kick in? And I know some like take like 30 minutes. And so you just want to make sure obviously that your insulin and food are timing up properly. The other important aspect of this, and I know this is like a lot of math, I'm not a math person, and so it still kind of confuses me, but you also need to pair up the type of food you're eating with your insulin. So if you're eating a fast-acting sugar, you might want to wait a little bit longer to eat because that fast-acting sugar is going to kick in fast. And so you might just want to give your insulin a little bit more time to kick in for that. So like, for example, if I'm eating an apple, I'm going to wait 20 minutes rather than 15 because I know that it's going to hit me a little bit faster than like a piece of bread would, for example. So that's just something else you need to learn. But I think the good way to learn that, unfortunately, is seeing it happen to your blood sugar. You eating an apple after 5 minutes and noticing your blood sugar going straight up, then you're like, okay, like maybe have a journal, write this stuff down, be like, okay, I ate an apple, I waited only 5 minutes to take my insulin and my blood sugar went straight up. Next time I'm going to wait 15 minutes or I'm going to wait 20 or 25 or whatever the number is. You're going to want a pre-bolus. This is huge, 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 huge information that you guys need to do. And I also want to mention, I know that this is like tough to do. Okay, pre-bolusing at home is a lot easier. Like if you're cooking from home, it's easier to pre-bolus. If you go out to eat, it's quite tough because a lot of type 1 diabetics say that you should wait till you see your meal before you take your insulin. But who wants to have their food delivered at the table, take insulin, and then wait 15 minutes, especially if you're with people that are like starting to eat? That's no fun. So I personally am a proponent of taking it before the food gets there, which can be hard because you don't know how many carbs are in your meal. But I'm a big guesstimator, and so I will take insulin before just because I don't want to wait. I don't want to be that awkward person that's like taking insulin when my food arrives and then waiting 15-20 minutes whenever, and then starting to eat when everyone else is done. That's just not something I want to do. And I know it's tough, and I know most of you probably don't do that either because that would be terrible. So I take my insulin before. I don't know what you guys do. Take this with a grain of salt because I'm not a doctor. I am not a nutritionist. I'm not an endocrinologist. It's just what I do personally. So for example, if I'm at a Mexican restaurant and I order 3 tacos, I can kind of guesstimate what that's going to be, right? The other benefit of taking insulin early is you can always go a little lower on how much insulin you're taking, right? So if you're like, ooh, I don't really know how many carbs this is going to be, maybe take a little less. just to get some insulin in your system. And then you can always take more later. It's kind of how I like to look at it. So like maybe I'll start with just 2 units or something. And then I'll be like, okay, I'm eating a lot more than I thought. I'm going to take another 2, 3 units or whatever the case may be. I just think it's a good way to start getting insulin in your system so you don't have to sit there and wait for 15, 20 minutes when your meal comes, because most of us probably won't. We'll probably just start eating and then we'll be mad at ourselves later because our blood sugar is going up because we didn't pre-bolus and all of this stuff. So pre-bolusing is huge, but I understand things come up. Sometimes it's just not going to work out. Sometimes you just can't. But if you can be strong and push through and try to wait 15, 20 minutes, I'm telling you, you will see wonderful benefits with your time and range for your blood sugar. All right, so my third tip for you to stay in range more often, lower your A1c, and keep your blood sugars in range is to eat your dessert with your meals. I am telling you, yes, you can eat dessert. I have a huge sugar craving at all times after I eat my dinner. I am like, I need sweets now, especially now that I'm pregnant. I'm like constantly craving sweets and it sucks, but here I am, I'm doing it. And so my recommendation is to eat your dessert with your meals. Once again, I know this can be difficult, but if you can try to plan this out, it will help so much. So you're going to want to take your insulin up front, right, for your meal. And if you know what dessert you're going to be eating, you can also take your insulin up front for that at the same time. I know a lot of times, especially like if you're going out to eat, you don't really know what dessert you'll be eating necessarily. So you probably can't take it up front. That probably happens more often than not. But if you do happen to know, like if you're eating at home, it's Thanksgiving and you know you're going to have a piece of pie, take even more insulin up front for the pie. The other reason that you're going to want to eat your dessert with your meal is because now, instead of just like, if you were to not eat them together, you would just be eating like a sugary dessert, right? Like the nutrition that's in that is probably just sugar, carbs. I doubt there's anything like nutritious in that, unless it's like some healthy dessert, but that's no fun. So that's going to spike your blood sugar. If you're just eating straight sugar, it's in carbs, it's going to spike your blood sugar, like no matter what, because there's nothing nutritious in that. If you're now eating your dessert with your main meal, you're probably going to get more nutrition in there. So you're definitely going to have, more protein probably. You're probably going to have more fiber. You're going to have more fat. And you're going to have just all these extra nutrients in your meal that will help with the dessert, sugary stuff. So this is why I recommend always eating your dessert like pretty quickly after you eat your meal. It's just an important thing to do because it will help with your blood sugar management, because we all know that if you pair your foods together, it will help lessen the spike. Instead of it just going straight up, it's going to be like more of a gradual spike, hopefully. And so this is why you should eat your dessert with your meals. Once again, I know it's tough. Like maybe later in the day, you want to go get ice cream and you haven't had a meal yet. Well, stuff happens, like that's okay. But something else you could do in that situation, if you're like, okay, it's 3 p.m., we're going to get ice cream. I had lunch 3 hours ago. How do I keep my blood sugar in range? Well, you're going to want to do that by maybe adding in some protein right before you eat your ice cream. So that can be something like a handful of nuts, toss them in your mouth, and then eat your ice cream. Yes, trust me, I know how like annoying that is and frustrating. It's like, who wants to eat a handful of nuts before they have ice cream? But if your goal is to lower your A1c, stay in range more often, better manage your blood sugars, this is a good way to do it. So maybe in your bag, if you're a female and you have a purse, keep a little bit of nuts in there, sugar-free nuts probably. Keep some nuts in there to toss in your mouth before you have the ice cream or before you have whatever dessert you're having. Or maybe have like a slice of string cheese, something that has a little bit of protein that you can eat before you have your ice cream. Another good, like quick bag snack of protein are like those new beef sticks. Like, I mean, there's so many brands out there now. There's like Chomps, Archers. I mean, Larissa's. There's so many of them. Just get whichever one you like and then eat that really quick before you eat your ice cream. It will help lessen the blood sugar spike. But once again, if you're at home, I highly recommend just like making your meal and then eating your dessert, whatever it is, together. If you're feeling extra crazy, you can always make a dessert that does have some more nutrient dense options in it, like something with a little bit of protein or something with peanut butter, right? That would be a great option because peanut butter does have fat and it does have protein. And so I love peanut butter. I actually eat peanut butter a lot for a snack because it is a healthier option for blood sugars in the sense that I know it's not going to like skyrocket me. You do have to be careful though. Make sure you're choosing peanut butter that is low in sugar because some of them have a lot of sugar. And so once again, like that will spike you. So make sure you're reading nutritional labels when you are choosing these options, but eating your dessert with your meal will make a huge difference. And if you're not eating it with your meal, try to pair it with some type of protein if you can. I know it's challenging, but if you can, try to pair it with some protein and you will absolutely see better management over your blood sugars. So those are my 3 tips for you today to lower your A1C while still eating the foods that you love, because you don't necessarily have to give up the foods you love to get an A1C in the 5s. And I'll be honest, I am proof of that. I think I've only had one A1C that was in the 6s. The rest of them have been in the 5s. That is once again not to brag. That is not to brag at all. It's just to show you that you can eat dessert and stay in the 5s. You can eat foods and stay in the 5s. Lately, because I've been pregnant, I have been more strict with my diet and choosing better, healthier options for my overall health. But I've been a diabetic for 3.5 years now. And trust me, I have had a lot of dessert and I've had a lot of pizza and I've had a lot of fried food. And so my point is, it is totally possible for you to stay in range while still eating the foods you love. While I do think that we should be focusing on our overall health a little bit more as diabetics, as human beings, as just people, it's probably a good idea to maybe choose healthier options as food, but you don't have to, is kind of my point. You don't necessarily have to lower your A1C and be happy while you live your life with type 1 diabetes. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. Feel free to message me on Instagram at type1.tribe. I'd be happy to assist. The other thing I wanted to mention really, really quick is in the fall, I plan on doing a small group program to kind of dive into all this stuff that I just talked about even deeper. So we can work one-on-one in a group, just really dive into blood sugar management and lowering A1C and how can we exercise more? Like what exercises can I do? Diving more into cardio and weightlifting and everything like that. I'm going to have a program in the fall, probably October range. I'm hoping, guys. Once again, I'm pregnant. I'm going to have a newborn baby. That's the goal. Okay. Who really knows what will happen? But if you're interested in that, message me on Instagram and I can add you to the wait list. That does not guarantee you are in, so don't worry about that. It's just to gather more information in the fall once I start to put it together. So thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. I'm so happy you all are here, and I will see you guys next week in the next episode. Bye.